Spa-Francorchamps for the Renault Sport Trophy, and this the endurance race of the weekend. 70 minutes plus a lap, and we will take you through the grid in a moment or two. It's assembling just after La Source, so the run down towards Eau Rouge will be the first sequence of corners for these Renault Sport Trophy cars. Incredible pieces of kit, these machines, powered by the Nissan engine, full carbon brakes, and the salute from Fabian Schiller, who starts from pole position and also leads the championship, by the way, with his teammate Marcus Paltela. So it's the turn of the non-pro to start the cars, and they'll hand over to the pro drivers. This is the 7th round of the season, as you can see, with one more to come next month at Estoril in Portugal, during which we have Renault Sport Trophy and Eurocup Formula Renault 2-litre action, all as part of the European Le Mans Series weekend. And plenty of racing action to entertain the fans. It's a busy paddock here. Had a quick walk through there earlier on, and it is bustling with many show cars from Renault represented. They also had one of the Renault Formula 1 cars out on track a little earlier on today, and Graham Goodwin to my right, editor of Daily Sports Car. Interesting action from Nicholas Latifi. Yeah, you can see the tribunes, the grandstands full of spectators, which is good to see. They picked a good place to watch this 70-minute race, that run from La Source down towards Eau Rouge and Raidillon corner. But Nicholas Latifi having fun in that Formula 1 Renault car.
Out to entertain.
Donuts at Les Combes, and then coming the wrong way back down the Kemmel Straight.
At speed,
through Raidillon and Eau Rouge, downhill and then back uphill, which you need to get full permission to do that, which clearly Nicolas did have. And he was enjoying himself probably just about as much as the fans were as they lapped up the action. I'm pleased to say that we've got glorious conditions here at Spa. There is a breeze, but for the main part we're going to be reaching near on 20 degrees Celsius, and Miguel Ramos, who starts from 3rd position, the Portuguese driver, will be aiming to win this race ideally to keep his championship aspirations alive.
A number of new names to the championship this time out, more changes from the last round at the very least, including the number 5 car. Bruno Batista is in the LMS this weekend, is he not?
He is.
And we have 2 other Batistas in that car, Rodrigo and Adalberto.
Adalberto, in fact, is Bruno's father. And yes, we've got quite a number of new entered cars, or new drivers for the season, and because they're in at this stage of the season, they can't score points.
Yep.
And that's to avoid the situation where if a team or a driver was going for a championship, the team then bring in loads of extra drivers to make sure that they score points ahead of any rivals. Well, that's not permitted from round 4. You can enter the championship round 4 and score points, no problem, but if you enter the championship at round 5 or 6, there will be no non-point scoring affairs.
So there'll be no points at all, although I'm sure lots of entertainment from the one name on that list that certainly draws the eye, and that is one Robert Kubica.
Indeed, yes, the former Formula 1 driver and former rally driver. I remember that he did an endurance race at Mugello.
He did earlier this year
as part of the 24-hour series, and yeah, great to see him back in full health and also still taking part in the odd bit of racing action. He'll be in the number 16 Duquesne Engineering car, sharing with Christophe Amon. And yes, Robert Kubica has generated an awful lot of interest. Press conference with him a little bit earlier on.
Car stuck on
yeah, it is. And that may well be Miguel Ramos in the Vodafone-backed car. Struggling to see from this angle, but everybody else then testing the turning circle on one of these Renault RS01s. Thankfully, they've managed to get from behind that car, and crucially, if it's the last car to leave the grid, then the number 19 car won't be able to take its rightful position. It just about managed to do it.
Just managed it. There was fire in the belly of the Nismo, Nissan-sourced twin-turbo V6. This is the same engine, basic engine you would find in a Nissan GT-R road car, but provides plenty of turbocharged ponies for these fabulous Renault RS01. Full carbon tub for these cars,
It was Miguel Ramos, by the way, and he managed to get away just ahead of Fran Rude. We'll tell you about what happened to Fran in qualifying in a moment. Fabian Schiller, though, starting from pole position alongside Frederick Blomstedt. They're really the championship rivals. Fabian Schiller trying to win the championship, the Endurance Trophy part of the championship, with his co-driver Marcus Paltela. Miguel Ramos starts third, Jelle Bielen fourth for V8 Racing, and then a new name is Diederik Seithoff, another Dutchman for V8 Racing. 7th place for Christophe Amont for Duquesne Engineering, so that's Kubica's teammate. Philippe Bourgeois for Duquesne starts 8th, Jeroen Schothorst 9th, and Philippe Asbrook in 10th, ahead of Dennis Anderson and Adalberto Baptista for the Oregon crew. An Oregon team here with their regular 3 cars. Carmen Jorda will start from 13th position. 14th place for Davide Roda. Now, it was Roda who spun in qualifying, and in avoidance, Fran Rude had to go off the road and made contact with either Armco or tyre barrier. He was absolutely fine, but it did significant damage to the car. It meant that the car was out of the session on the spot, and Fran Rude, therefore, having to start from the back of the field, I think having set no time at all. So, Fran Rude, one of the real talents in the non-pro part of this championship, and often able to match the pace of Fabian Schiller, but Fran having to start right at the back of the field, as is Davide Roda in that number 1 car. So this the formation lap, just 1 green flag lap ahead of a 70-minute race. Remember that when we get to about 25-30 minutes into this race, effectively the order will be frozen and points awarded to the non-pro drivers, and that will go towards the AM Trophy. So it's also crucial for us to note the order before the stops, and halfway points, if you like, although they are full points. Halfway points will be awarded just before that first pit stop, just before the half-hour mark. And the other thing to note actually is that in the AM Trophy and the Pro Trophy, so that's the championships for the solo drivers, you are permitted 1 drop score as well. So if the points and their format within the Renault Sport Trophy weren't complex enough, and we love the fact that they're complex because it makes sure it's fair for all, then there's also a drop score to weave into that as well. Here are the cars in full dummy grid formation then. It'll be a rolling start for Fabian Schiller alongside Frederick Blomstedt, Miguel Ramos and Jelle Bielen on the second row, and Diederik Seithoff, who had a full season of Renault Sport Trophy action last year, will start from 5th place. We're underway then, and on the grass there is the car towards the back of the field. That was Schothorst, I think, trying to gain some ground. It was the teammate of Frederick Blomstedt anyway. It might have been Baptista rather. Anyway, and contact at the first corner, and this is a very peculiar line to see cars left, right and centre. One of the Oregon cars is damaged, and that's a big incident coming out of the source as well. So that is one of the other Oregon cars, together with the 8 machine of Diederik Seithoff, who, as I say, did a full season of Renault Sport Trophy. I'm sure it is, yeah. Did a full season of Renault Sport Trophy last year. So although he's new to the 2016 championship, knows these cars very well indeed. And that wounded Orica team car further back is struggling its way down the Kemmel Straight. That looked like an alarming shunt because all the bodywork obviously was ripped off the car. It's kind of designed to do that, and the medical crews are with both drivers immediately, thanks entirely because of where this has happened, right after the start line. It was a move, I think, by the High Class Racing, the blue and white car there. Now, who's in that at the moment? Is it Dennis Anderson? I think it is. And then afterwards, what do you see, Graham?
The black car lost its steering.
So it did. So, oh yes, and just cannot change direction. And front left wheel ripped off there. Then Anderson clouted the other Oregon car.
And the secondary impact against the 8 car with the 11 wiping off the rear wing. But it looked to me that started, I think somebody outbrake themselves up the inside into La Source. We didn't see that. We saw the impact on the outside of La Source, but I think if we saw that from the other angle, I think what you're going to see is someone taking a lunge up the inside, and it just went wrong. But the number 8 car looked to me, Johnny, to try to rejoin the track, was unable to do so, and I'm afraid headed at speed into that barrier.
The feeling I had was that Dennis Anderson was incredibly late on the brakes, and just purely in avoidance, there were about 3 or 4 cars that had to take to the runoff area because Dennis Anderson had charged his way up the inside at La Source in order to overtake about 3 cars all at once, and Dennis Anderson eventually was involved in that massive impact out of La Source corner. The safety car has picked up Fabian Schiller, the race leader, Frederick Blomstedt in second place and Miguel Ramos in third. Fourth position now Christophe Amon in the yellow number 16 machine. So a bit of a surprise for Christophe. Jeroen Schothorst is in fifth place. Jeroen, by the way, is Peter Schothorst's uncle, his co-driver, and Stein Schothorst's father. There is the Dennis Anderson car. Now, can we have it? No, the incident, or the reason why this kind of kicked off, almost happened before that, but the rear bodywork's nothing to worry about, as that is torn off the car to expose that Nissan engine. Now, further back, yes, that's the blue and white car of Dennis Anderson, and he kind of takes 2 cars with him there. There's already contact with Davide Roda.
The 8 car was already into Dennis Anderson's car,
right,
and then trying to recover to the track, and I think with the power fully on, suddenly realised to his horror there was no steering.
Yeah, and he couldn't turn right as he headed down the hill, and there is a tyre wall all the way down that area of the track, as you can see, 2 or 3 tyres deep. But there is now a medical vehicle, ambulance, on the scene there. Dennis Anderson's stricken machine is being wheeled away, and I think that is Dennis stood by the car, so he is looking fine.
Safety car, by the way, will be coming through the pit lane while they clear both the debris and also attend to
the
brake car.
It may actually come down the pit lane from the chicane. No, I'm wrong. It's already headed through La Source that has the safety car train, and they're waving everybody by, well, kind of past the incident, actually. Now it will come down the pit lane. Obviously, with the crews, no doubt, working on the European Le Mans Series
that
cars.
has been down the other pit lane. They have been down the other pit lane. They've come down the Formula 1 pit lane, back out, and are now going down the old pit lane because they're all being shown out of the pits.
You're quite right.
Scoring, so they're going to be going down both.
So in the current configuration of the 2 pit lanes, there's no option but to head out onto that short piece of track and then return again to the support paddock pit lane, if you like.
So 3 cars certainly out of the race at this stage, 11, 8 and number 4, and we've already seen, haven't we, the Oregon car with heavy damage to the front of the car. 17 is pitting.
Yes, so it was Andres Mendez, the car that we've not actually mentioned. That was the Oregon machine with all its bodywork ripped off. There was a walking wounded Oregon team car as well.
There were 2 Oregon cars involved, Johnny, and one of them is the car that had lost the front bodywork, and I think we're going to see that car stay on pit lane as well. Roda has certainly stayed in the pits, so has
Philippe Bourgeois, the number 17 car, potentially. That was one of the Duquesne cars, wasn't it? And Jelle Bielen's not re-emerged from the pits yet either.
So we have 9 cars in the train, plus 3 on pit road, and a further 3, very sadly, that are immediately out the race with that multiple accident at Les Combes and then beyond with a secondary accident.
So that's the Duquesne car of Philippe Bourgeois. There is Davide Roda's machine. Now that's still being worked on, so clearly Oregon think that they can get the car back out again into the race. It's all happened slightly out of shot, but certainly Dennis Anderson was trying to make about 4 places all at that first corner and then was caught up. Watch the blue and white car caught up in the incident as the 2 machines are spat back across the track. Black car, the centre of your shot, though, has no steering, as Graham quite rightly says. Side swipes Andres Mendez, and both cars heavily into the tyre wall, and they return to the track, cleaning out Dennis Anderson, sadly. And there in the middle of your shot again is the the pink, yellow and green car of Davide Roda with missing bodywork. Jelle Bielen nearly caught up in it, in the green car as well.
Actually, looking again at that shot and seeing the number 8 car, you can see the right front wheel is turning. It looks like the left front wheel wasn't.
Right. So maybe a steering arm having been snapped in the initial impact, and yeah, when you've got one wheel trying to steer you in the right direction, the other one is just dead straight. its kind of path of least resistance, isn't it? And that then steered that car across the nose of Andres Mendez in the Oregon machine, and sadly both heavily into the wall. So they're attended by the medical crews. The safety cars, you can see, still out and currently bringing the field down the pit lane. This is eating into the 70 minutes and also eating into the AM stint.
At some speed, by the way, here to keep the heat in the tyres, I'm sure.
Yeah. But as far as Fabian Schiller's concerned, the longer it stays like this, the better for him, because he, at the point where the positions are frozen, to take that first portion of points, if you like, to go towards the AM trophy, you know, the longer he's out front, the more happy he's going to be.
This time, don't take the line through the F1 pits, but we'll soon see whether or not there's still a requirement to come down pit lane, or whether or not the extensive debris field, I think we should call it, still requires that. It may very well do.
Still at least 2 cars to be recovered from there. There is a flatbed though in the vicinity, and
they're coming through without taking to pit lane this time, so great work by the marshals to clear the immediate debris. No, they are going, sorry, it's a late turn in there, isn't it, as they lift one car to the right, and of course the 8 car to the left, as they see it, the other way around for us.
I actually think the marshals have done a good job to make sure that that portion of the track that's being used by the safety car and its train is pretty much clear of any debris. There are no body sections there, no components that could potentially cause punctures later on in the race. So purely as a precaution, these cars heading down the pit road then, and just caught a glimpse there of the number 3 car of Philippe Asbrook in the number 3 car. So it was Asbrook who was on the grass, in fact. Just wind things back to the very start, and we saw a white car in the distance on the grass. That was Philippe Asbrook in the number 3 machine. It's Frederick Blomsted's teammate, if you like, in the sister car from R.S. GP.
I should say, by the way, of those 3 cars that pitted and stayed in when the cars came down pit road, 2 have rejoined the race. Bourgeois and Davide Roda both back in the race. Not quite yet on the back of this safety car train.
So it's a waiting game for everybody in the field. The pro drivers will be getting warmed up because they'll be in somewhere between the 30-minute and 40-minute mark. But still to be recovered is the Diederik Saitov car. Sadly, Diederik returning to the championship for the first time in 2016, and his endurance trophy race lasts no more than just a corner, with the steering failing on his machine and making contact with the Andres Mendez car. We've also, that's Dennis Anderson's machine way in the distance, isn't it, the blue and white car. So it actually got as far around as Speaker's Corner. This is Pouon now that the McGregor back car is going through, the double left-hander. Dennis Anderson did well to get that far and realise it may well be a bit of a lost cause with the nose of the car missing. Probably the setup of the car feeling well and truly out as well, and the team a little bit up against it to repair these machines, particularly those involved in the big shunt out of La Source. If the drivers are declared fit, then can the cars be repaired in time for tomorrow's sprint races in the Renault Sport Trophy? Inside the last hour now, so we've already had 10 minutes of this race, much of that held behind the safety car. 58 minutes and 50 seconds plus a lap to go, and the AM drivers sadly not with a chance to race. Franz Ruder had gained some ground, interestingly enough. Now where is Ruder in the mixture? 7th from the back of the field, so he made short work of things. Obviously they were still the guys that were the right side of that incident and managed to get through the carnage, continued to race for that lap, and Franz Ruder was not wasting any time in scything his way through the order. There is Andres Mendez's car missing at least one wheel, and the front right well and truly out of alignment. So clearly Oregon, though, are keen to get the number 1 car back into the race.
So the number 4 car was already on the flatbed, and that car about to get underway and off track. 17. Oh, that was 17, wasn't it? That's Bourgeois. But we saw
the Duquesne car on pit road is
no, the car that was actually on track.
I didn't see it, I have to say. I was peering down at my laptop at the time. Over to the right, you mean?
It's over to the right. The car in front of this car. There's a dark blue car here.
Philippe Bourgeois is shown as, well, still running at the moment, although he might be shown as stopped in a second, because, as you say, he's not reached the end of...
We'll keep an eye on that. He was certainly delayed. He was one of the cars that was on pit road early on. The number 1 car is released with a chunk of finely honed bodywork missing.
Yes, and they've taped up the rest of it, and presumably, well, it will still be Davide Roda at the wheel. He's being told to wait just to allow the rest of the safety car train through. Eau Rouge, and there is some support for the guest Polish driver, Robert Kubica. So I'm not sure whether those guys have actually travelled from Poland to be with us here at Spa, or whether they remember him from his rallying days and Formula 1 days around this place as well.
Should I add, by the way, that one of the 3 cars that didn't rejoin after pitting was Jerry Beelan in the number 7 car. So far, we look to have lost from the running order the 3 cars that were claimed by that incident just beyond Les Combes, but at and beyond Les Combes, the 11, the 8 and the 4. I'm going to correct myself, it was the 11, not the 17 that had stopped. So 11, 7, 8 and 4, and it does look as if Jerry Beelan may also be in trouble.
And that's a shame, because it looked like Yelly managed to stop short of the incident out of La Source.
So whether or not he's run over debris.
Yes, true. Well, here's a look at the start again, and that's Philippe Asbrook on the grass because of a slight move to the left by the 17 Duquesne engineering car. Watch Dennis Anderson from way back. He's charged up the order, and he'd made contact with Yelly Beelan.
That's it.
And then steamed into everybody else. And I'm afraid that is a far too audacious manoeuvre from Dennis Anderson at the first corner. That's almost like something I'd do on the PlayStation, to try and overtake about 5 or 6 cars at the first time of asking. And
then
sadly,
press reset and have another go.
Well, you can't do that in this, can you? But yes, I'm sure there are many drivers out there that would like to do that.
Watch the wheel of the black car here.
Yeah, that is Diderik Saitov, and you're talking about the front left corner.
The front left corner,
which
looked
clearly
to be trying to
torn
steer
off the car now, but before the point of impact.
I think that was trying to steer and wasn't succeeding terribly well.
Yeah, not the start we wanted, sadly, and we are now 15 minutes into this race, and we haven't had anywhere near enough racing, clean racing. Safety car lights are still illuminated, and it charges its way down towards the bus stop chicane. As you say, the safety car driver, though, is not hanging around here to ensure that brake and tyre temperature is up there as hot as possible. The amber lights are flashing on the gantry there, just above the finish line. And Fabian Schiller continues to try and keep some heat in, particularly the front tyres of these rear-wheel drive cars. We'll get another chance to see how well this recovery work is going out of La Source in a moment or two.
Well, 4 was on the flatbed, I think should now be clear. 11 indeed has now gone as well by the look of things. So the issue that remains is, of course, the 8, the more heavily damaged of the cars, and the recovery team and the medical team were on site last time through. The car is now on the back of a flatbed. There is clearly drying agent down for whatever fluid. This time the cars are able to go down the main straight, but one of the cars pulls off to pits. That is number 17 car again,
Philippe Bourgeois. So that's the car that's already been partly repaired by Duquesne Engineering, and that, remember, is the car that will be handed over to Lonnie Martins. If you're looking out for Robert Kubica, he'll be in the 16 car,
currently running 4th,
which is 4th place with Christophe Amon.
There's a mouth-watering prospect if there was one. There's a 17 car getting further attention from the team. They're just checking everything's pointing in the right direction. You can see impact damage on the left-hand side of the car, front and rear, pulling out some bodywork at the rear. That's taken a hit from the back.
And there is not a body panel on that car that's not got some kind of tape on it, sadly. So yeah, but the concern is, I think, the rear end of that machine having been hit from behind. I'm not sure, I can't remember whether that was involved in the La Source incident. An awful lot of the cars were, so it's a fair bet. And there is a guy also attending to the rear left wheel arch just to make sure that all that tape is neatly secured. Down into turn 9, Speaker's Corner, and the number 8 car of Diderik Saitov. Not a lot left of that.
A huge collection of bodywork from the rest of the damaged cars in the front of that flatbed. But,
this is what happens. Dennis Anderson from right to left on that shot. Oh, there was rear end damage there on the 17 from Davide Roda, so we'd already accounted for Roda's front damage. Well, he clouted the back of the 17 machine, and way in the distance there, Andres Mendez and Diderik Saitov, sadly, with big impacts into the red and yellow tyre wall. Thankfully it is protected by tyres though. That will have cushioned the blow slightly. Engine cover way up in the air there, and thankfully coming to land the right side of the fence and not ending up in the crowd. That's Dennis Anderson's car, which worked its way then further round the lap eventually. But as you say, it's a horrible incident to continue to watch with wheels entirely off, with suspension struts up in the air. Thankfully all the bits that went up in the air came back and landed on the track.
Porsche back out and released by the crew again to rejoin the back of the safety car train, and it won't, I don't think, be long before we get back underway here, Johnny. Perhaps one more lap as they clear any remaining debris. But what an awful moment. Certainly the two guys caught up in that second major impact. Power was clearly on, found himself on a little steer, but by then the momentum was too much.
Yes.
Carried him into Mendes' car, completely innocent party.
Yeah, Diderik Saitov, the man on board, and he was due to hand over to Minder Van Buren, but Van Buren won't get an opportunity in this endurance race, sadly. He will hopefully get a pro race, assuming they fix the car tomorrow. Lights still on for the pace car, safety car rather. So it's going to be at least one more lap. So let's hand down to the pit lane and catch up with the man we've been talking about an awful lot more, but the first we hear about from Robert Kubica.
Robert Kubica, great to see you in the Renault Sport Trophy. Tell us about the experience so far this weekend.
Well, yeah, I mean, we are doing the endurance race, so my teammate is doing quite well. He's fourth. Actually, we are running behind safety car because there was a huge accident. Until now, it's a good weekend for us. I have fun, so yeah, we'll see.
How special to see so many fans.
Renault weekends or ELMS always has been quite crowded, but I think a lot of people, especially from Poland, came because I'm here, so I'm really grateful, and I want to thank them to do so many kilometers to come here, and yeah, we hope to enjoy, and I hope they have fun.
Thank you very much, Robert. Have a good one.
Robert Kubica talking to our man Julien down there in the pit lane, and we will see him, all being well, on board the number 16 car before the end of this race. Is it me, or do these cars seem to be now starting to gather a bit of speed? I think they have a feeling.
I think they have a feeling we're about to go back to green.
Absolutely.
No confirmation of that yet, I should say, but Robert Kubica, I have to say, I think he's looking forward to this.
Well, particularly as Christophe Amon has got that car into fourth place. A little bit of luck involved with that as well, but dodging the stricken cars, dodging the damage left, right and centre, and yes, has got that Duquesne car to fourth. Jeroen Schothorst right behind him in the number 21 Equipe Vasseur car, and Jeroen admittedly not as quick as his nephew Peter.
Safety car is coming in this lap. You know what? I think he might be tempted to stay out. I think he thinks he can hold these guys off at the speed he's doing here. He's doing a fine job of helping these drivers to keep the heat in the tyres. Very important here.
Yeah, I've not done my homework to find out exactly who's driving that safety car, but it'll be a race driver, I'm sure.
I want him as my next Uber driver.
Not hanging around at all. There's some more Kubica fans. Welcome back. Quite right too. as I say, did some action with the Creventic organisation from the Netherlands at the Mugello 12 Hours. That event held on a Friday night for 4 hours and then a further 8 hours the next day on a Saturday, and did pretty well in that. It was good to see him back in a race car on a circuit as opposed to a rally car.
It will be 11 cars remaining in this, I'm afraid now, slightly denuded field after the first lap incidents, but 11 cars is going to be plenty enough for one heck of a race. 48 minutes remain on the clock, and in just a few moments' time we're going to see the Renault pace car, safety car, pull in, and these cars will be released.
So through the right, through the left chicane to end the lap, and finally we can get back to racing action. Remember, we've not really had a full green flagged lap yet, but the green lights are illuminated on the bridge. Weaving from left to right is the fourth place car. That's the Kubica car, but driven at the moment by Christophe Hamon. Behind Miguel Ramos, behind Frederic Blomstedt in second, but Fabian Schiller leads the way, and full marks to the Marshall crew down at La Source and also on the approach to Eau Rouge to get that little lot cleaned up in a relatively swift 20 minutes. Into Eau Rouge then for the first time of proper racing action, and Fabian Schiller's got a good run through there ahead of the RHGP Frederic Blomstedt driven car. Miguel Ramos is third, fourth place Christophe Hamon, then it's Jeroen Schothorst and Carmen Jorda, but place changes already, Graham.
That's a change with the second of the VDS cars getting a place over the number 6 car. It's Jorda, isn't it? Carmen Jorda loses a place.
Fran Ruda then driving the next of the second of the Mark VDS cars, and Ruda we know has got pace but had a real tricky qualifying session, starting from the back of the pack. By the way, Philippe Bourgeois is a lap off the pace. Same goes for Davide Roda because of the amount of work necessary on the number 17 and 1 cars respectively.
Fabian Schiller, though, is beginning to get away here. Is Schiller from Blomstedt, Ramos and Hamon. And then there's a bit of a gap before we get to Schothorst here. And then Fran Rueda, Carmen Jorda and Baptista in the next group.
Through there with a good run here on Schothorst, and up the inside he goes at Fagnes corner, the first part of Piff Paff, and makes swift work there of Jeroen Schothorst. Expect the Schothorst car to go far more swiftly in the hands of Peter Schothorst.
And it's going to be here, this phase of the race, Johnny, about what kind of impact Fran Rueda can make on that lead 4. The gap, first to 5 right now, is 7 seconds, so keep an eye on that, because Fran Rueda...
Side-to-side contact there with one of the Oregon cars, and Carmen Jorda again.
Here's Carmen Jorda,
yes.
Loses another place.
To
Baptista, I think.
Adalberto Baptista, yeah. Adalberto Baptista, rather, taking that car over from Bruno Baptista, who is in ELMS action this weekend. Another overtake on Carmen Jorda, this time from the number 3 of Philippe Asbrook.
Yeah.
So Asbrook making swift work there of the young Spaniard.
So Carmen Jorda not had a very good lap. That's 3 places lost, 4 places lost in fact, for Carmen Jorda.
And the 2 cars behind her, even if they were to get past, and they've got to avoid each other before they do that, but yes, they've just about managed it. They are a lap down, remember.
Might have been a bit of minor contact there, but they can little afford to lose any more bodywork from either of those 2.
That's a good point, well put. Davide Roda losing the spot then to Philippe Bourgeois, and those 2 cars are on the same lap, as I say, having only completed 6 laps as opposed to the race leader now with 7 in the book, and a bit more because the leader's already at Le Camp. 3/4 of an hour to go plus a lap, and Schiller leads from Blomstedt and Ramos. That's how they started, first, second and third on the grid. Christophe Hamon has gained 3 places, and Fran Rueda from the back of the field up 10 spots now to 5th place, and he will be closing in on Christophe Hamon.
Taken 4 tenths out on the last lap, but is closing in sector by sector. Taken just a couple of tenths out of the leader as well, so he's closing the gap on everybody ahead of him just now. Finds himself in clear air, having made the move to get past Schothorst. And now it's about what impact he can make to get back on terms with the leading quartet of cars, and the answer is rapid progress indeed. I don't think it's been very long before he's with, or even by, Christophe Hamon. He then got a growing gap before we get back to Schothorst, about 3 seconds at the moment. Here's the number 21 car. 6th position. That is the leader, Fabian Schiller, fastest lap of the race. So far 2:18.2, that goes to Fabian.
Due to hand over to Marcus Paltela, who is back into the championship, having missed the previous round, by the way, at Paul Ricard. We all thought that Fabian Schiller, having got a DNF, and Paltela not even being in France, that would surely mean they lost the championship lead. Well, everybody else was on course to gain the championship lead and then sort of fell away towards the end of that bizarre race at Paul Ricard, so they retain the championship lead coming here to Belgium, Graham.
And Frank Weider is already through to 4th position. He's gone by Christophe Amon. Fastest lap of the race this time goes to Fabian Schiller. It's a 2:17.8. Start under investigation, we are hearing.
Really?
Now, is that the start or the restart?
That's a good question. Yes. Well, if it's a start, then you can perfectly
understand
put a reason
why. Yes.
for that. Yeah, indeed. Stating the obvious. But if it was if it's a restart, it should really say restart under investigation. Message on the screen is that the initial start, is going to be looked at again. And there is the 16 car of Christophe Amon there.
Dropping back.
Yeah, he is,
dropping
absolutely.
back in towards the group of 3 chasing. That's Schothurst, Baptista and Hazebrook.
But Amon had a tough old lap last time around for whatever reason. That was when he was overtaken, presumably by Frank Reder. And that's side-to-side contact between Carmen Jorda and a car that's a lap down, remember, the 17 Duquesne engineering machine. So she could have allowed Philippe Bourgeois through and still kept 9th place. He is through now, by the way, but some needless contact, you could argue, into that final chicane. Beg your pardon, he's not through, is he? No, because they've rejoined in the same order.
Meantime, there's going to be a warning for car 16. You said about a difficult lap for Christophe Amon. That includes him getting the warning flag for leaving the track. I suspect that means leaving the track limits rather than actually going out to the circuit for an errand and coming back. This is the moment where, and that was.
Ooh. Right, that's the reason why Amon has such a slow lap then. And he did pretty well to only lose 4 seconds, but there was contact then for Fran Reder to get through. We talked about how quickly Fran was charging up the order. Well, that was a bit audacious to come from that far back.
So. I would have certainly put that in the hands of Fran Weider. He needed to find the safe way back by, and he certainly couldn't get that car stopped in time to do that safely.
For me, he has the pace anyway on Christophe Amon, so there may have been a better opportunity just to wait down at the source. But then again, I talk about motor racing and he actually does it, so I shouldn't be too critical. Here's Fabian Schiller, who's also very good at racing, and at the moment, it's been clear air out front for him, apart from that long period when the safety car was technically leading the race. He'll be pleased to have got shot of that. And Fabian Schiller is not hanging around, heading through Eau Rouge and over the top at Radion. And Frederick Blomstedt just about has him in his sights.
Well, he did drew closer than he is at the moment, but then Fabian Schiller got his head down and just pulled out a bit more of a gap. Those two are beginning now to get away from Miguel Ramos. Fran Weider, meanwhile, is looking to see what he can do. About the 19 car ahead in 3rd. Gap at the moment, it's about 4.5 seconds. But with the incident with Christophe Amon, he has lost a little bit of time, a couple of 3 seconds to the overall leader. So 2:17.6 last time around for Schiller, 2:17.9 for Blomstedt, 2:19.1 for Ramos, 2:18.2 for Weider. And the good news there is that means we're going to get into battle territory before the end of this race if things keep going this way.
Quite right too, and remember, we're not too far away from the 30-minute mark where, well, just before the 30-minute mark, probably on the previous lap completed, there will be effectively a freeze frame of the timing screen as it stands, and there will be AM Trophy points awarded to the drivers that are on board at the moment. So that is something to keep our eye out for as well. 1.8 seconds, in fact 2.2 seconds now, the lead for Fabian Schiller. He'll take some stopping towards that marker where the points are awarded in this race. Fred Blomstedt trying his hardest to catch the young German. 2:17.9, plays a 2:17.6 for Schiller. Miguel Ramos in 3rd position. Fran Reder, who is Schiller's teammate, remember, up to 4th, although there was some contact to get by Christophe Amon, who was delayed on that lap, but he's got his lap times down to being very respectable again now. So clearly not carrying any damage on the 16.
But that incident is now under investigation, so does a problem loom here for Frank Vader a little bit further down the line?
Fans of Robert Kubica will be happy to see Christophe Amont being back up to speed. Jeroen Schotters still 5th, Philippe Hasbrook in 7th place, so Schotters is 6th behind Amont. And then we've got Adalberto Baptista in 8th, ahead of Carmen Jorda and Philippe Bourgeois. Miguel Ramos has pitted.
This pit window is open. Pit window is open.
Okay, fine. So that's all right.
So has Christophe Amont. So we are going to see a very early introduction to the race from Robert Kubica. So too has Jeroen Schotters. Hasebrook has pitted, Jorda has pitted, Bourgeois has pitted.
Yeah, I get confused there because I was thinking it was the 30-minute mark that we expected the pit lane to open. Of course, it's 30 minutes into the race rather than 30 minutes remaining.
There you go.
Screwed on Palmer.
Into the 16 car is bolted the Polish superstar, and he's a very welcome sight in this championship for this race. But the top 4 continue on, and it's a growing gap at the moment. Fabian Schiller is pulling away from Frederic Blonstedt just by a tenth or two here and there. Pulled out more than half a second last time around.
So 6 minutes and 50 seconds of the pit lane window remain. You'll get an opportunity to stop at the end of this lap and the next one, but if you push it to the very next lap, that will be cutting things very finely indeed. The 19 car is back on the move, sorry, the 10 car rather is back on the move, and then, so is that Kubica at the wheel of the 16?
It is indeed, as that is...
There's the reaction.
Fans. Excellent there, pleased he's back.
Well, Robert said that there was a big crowd having followed him all the way from Poland, so fair play to those guys making the trip to a sunny Belgium for the weekend.
Dropped this behind the number 21 car, that's Peter Schotters, so we're going to see a battle here with these two guys. Peter Schotters has been mighty quick this season in this car and in his GT Open efforts aboard a BMW, but it's all about Renault here. Peter Schotters with behind him, and this could be one to watch for the next 35 minutes, couldn't it?
Absolutely. So Schiller will, before the stops by the way, get maximum points as far as his AM points are concerned for the solo trophy, the solo driver trophy. Fred Blomstedt called us in 2nd position. Frank Reeder, before the stops, had made his way up to 4th. Although, of course, that incident involving he and Christophe Amont under investigation. This is Schiller, still at the wheel of the number 9 car, weaving through Les Combes.
Just got a quick shot, the number 1 car, I think, going into retirement, front end damage and whatever else that was carrying from the very early lap misfortunes. Looked to have overwhelmed its opportunity to quicker finish home. Frank Reeder, meanwhile, has brought the number 15 car down the pits. Adalberto Baptista is in with the number 5, so just the top 2 at the moment. There is the 5, number 1 there. Day is done, I believe. So driver change of course to the number 5.
Yep. Adalberto Baptista out, Rodrigo Baptista in for Oregon team, and the driver change at Mark VDS sees Frank Reeder getting out and Tanot Satin-Terracool getting in, the driver from Thailand, who's also very quick. Really impressed me at Paul Ricard, did Tanat. You can see how these cars are to a certain extent modular, so you'll be able to replace that the nose of that car reasonably easily. Of course, they have another problem in the sense that their other Oregon car is far, far more heavily damaged than that number 1 machine, so that will receive all the attention for the rest of today and into tomorrow.
There's bad news for the currently 3rd placed 15 car. They are going to get a 25-second time penalty for causing a collision. That will be for the impact with the 16 car in the bus stop.
Yes. So Frank Reeder making contact with Christophe Amont as it was at the time and spinning Amont on the spot. That car subsequently has been taken over by Robert Kubica, and we've seen Satin-Terracool, as I mentioned, get on board the number 15 car, but sadly Tanot's first job Beg pardon, it's just time added, so Tannock doesn't have to come in and serve a penalty as such. It's just time added to his race time, and that will be done at the end of the race, I assume. Here is the race leader, though, Fabian Schiller, coming down into the support pits. And the pressure on a little bit here for Fabian to hand over to Marcus Paltela. Just needs to do the final bit of his stint. Well, stops on his marks, perfect. That's a really good job done by Fabian Schiller, and Marcus Paltela is ready and waiting.
Fred Blomstead, though, went through and did not pit that time around. Must pit, therefore, I think, the next time. And
quickly into the garage goes Fabian to have a debrief, no doubt.
And Marcus Paltela knows this track probably better than anybody else in this field. Winner, of course, of the Spa 24 Hours. But he had a mighty moment in practice up at the top of Radion.
Yes, well, sort of losing the back end through Eau Rouge itself, and he was sideways up the hill with the tyre wall to driver's left getting closer and closer. He somehow kept the car out of the tyres and managed to get it stopped as well, rejoined. With that incident having grabbed the attention, I'm sure, but thankfully all the body panels remained straight on the car. Quite how he did that, I have no idea, because there have been some horrendous incidents through Eau Rouge and Radion through the years. Not least Stefan Mucker back in May as part of the World Endurance Championship weekend. There is Robert Kubica then, who heads over the line now, and Kubica is where in the order? That will put him fifth, won't it? Yes, because Paltela
fastest lap of the
hasn't
race
rejoined yet.
For the man he's trying to get onto terms with, Pieter Schotthurst, in the 2:16.766 last time around. Blomstead leads the race but must pit. Paltela rejoins second.
He's a man of few words sometimes, Robert Kubica, but he does all his talking on the track once he gets behind the wheel of a race car or rally car. And the speed that he just headed through Eau Rouge and over the top at Radion, leaving very little on the table here. Hard onto the brakes, but it's smooth stuff at the end of the Kemmel straight. A little bit more of a dab of the brakes there through the second bit of Le Com. And this is side-by-side action between Tannock, Settin-Terrikel and Peter Schotthurst. And Schotthurst, can he get the car slowed enough at Bruxelles corner? Yes. And Schotthurst has gained that space, that place for fourth position then.
Fred Blomstead, meanwhile, ahead of these guys on the road, is down the bottom of that hill and in pit lane at the moment.
Schotthurst to fourth, Settin-Terrikel falling to fifth, and in the distance you'll see Kubica. Meanwhile, this is the number 2 car, formerly the second placed machine, pitting from the lead though. Frederick Blomstead getting out and getting on board Raoul Owens, the Brit. So the gull-wing door opens for the moment. Good clean of the screen, and that will get rid of any debris that may have been picked up after that incredible incident at the start of the race, which accounted for 3 cars at the very least, and in fact now 4 with the number 1 car into retirement, Davide Roda's machine. Here is Marcus Paltela then to complete his first lap of the race. Over the line he goes. 30 minutes on the clock exactly, and they'll do an extra lap at the end of that. Raoul Owens about to rejoin, and this is kind of crucial. The number 2 car wants to get into the race sharpish, because Marcus Paltela will be at La Source now. He's exiting the corner.
Yes, it's going to be close.
Very close, isn't it? Down the hill goes the number 2 car for R.S. GP, and will take the lead, I reckon. Paltela's speed is going to be far higher through Eau Rouge and Radion. They're going to be absolutely side by side. Careful not to cross the blend line. Well, Paltela can cross the blend line, of course, and almost cut off the exit for Raoul Owens. For this lap, Raoul Owens will be called the leader on our screen, but of course that's not the case in reality. And Schotthurst in third, as you say.
Well, Schotthurst in third and fourth, of course, because there's 2 Schotthursts now. But it's...
That's Stein Schotthurst in third, in fourth position Peter Schotthurst. Or at least that's what the timing screen tells us. And at this stage of the race, it does take a little while to fully shake out. But yes, Stein Schotthurst is Miguel Ramos's teammate, so that is his car, the Vodafone-backed car. And then further down the road, Peter Schotthurst in with a chance. Way out, off onto the grass street there went Raoul Owens. That was the exit of turn 9, and this is surely an opportunity. No, for Stein Schotthurst.
Way off.
And this is more of an opportunity for Stein Schotthurst, and now he gets the place at Pouhon corner. And the pit window is closed, and thankfully everyone's been in and out several times, of course, because of the safety car period, but they've done their mandatory stop as well.
So the order after that, Marcus Paltella leads the race, the number 9 car from Raoul Owens, then Stijn Schothurst from Peter Schothurst. That's about a 10-second gap, by the way. Sorry, Schothurst, of course, has just taken that position, hasn't he? So it's Schothurst from Owens, from Pieter Schothurst, who's 4th position. Satin Terakal in 5th, Kubica in 6th. And under some pressure from Kevin Gorhus, Jordan Grogor, Batista and Martins are the 10 cars still underway in this race.
There's another opportunity to see the off-track moment for Raoul Owens, and just shows how much dust there is offline. As soon as you lose it, and as soon as you're off the racing line, it's kind of the point of diminishing returns, really. The further you go off, the less grip you have, and the more difficult it is to recover that moment. But Raoul Owens at least only lost 1 place through La Source. He goes for the 15th time, and it's Marcus Paltella who leads by 1.2 seconds from Stijn Schothurst and Raoul Owens. Then Peter Schothurst is 4th, but Peter Schothurst with the new fastest lap of the race, a 2:16.4, which is significantly faster than the 2 leaders. Found 2 seconds on Stijn Schothurst and 3 seconds on Marcus Paltella.
And Stijn Schothurst looking to get to the lead here. He's got on to terms with Marcus Paltella. Wasn't quite close enough that time around to take a look into Les Combes, but it's not going to be long before he is. And how much longer is it going to be? It's 6 seconds, the gap now between Raoul Owens and Pieter Schothurst. And the question at this point is, how many Schothursts are going to be on the podium?
Well, yeah.
And where?
3 of them in the race, and 2 of them sharing a car. There is another Schothurst, unreliably informed by Guillaume, who is one of their press officers at Renault. There's a Baz Schothurst as well, all from the Netherlands, and well, the Bleekemolen family. I keep finding new Bleekemolen's who will happily take part in a motor race. And clearly
not
the Schothurst,
that much longer since before Jeroen's twins will be ready either.
well, indeed so, yes. Jeroen Bleekemolen, one of the most successful and quickest, arguably, racing near enough every single weekend all around the planet. But we have 3 Schothursts in this race, and it's Marcus Paltella who currently leads the race. But the man who's just stepped out of the number 9 car is Fabian Schiller, who now joins Julien down in the pit lane.
Fabian Schiller, that was a shortened stint in the ham category, but still maximum points available for you. How did it feel?
Yeah, for sure, it's a good achievement, because we had a really tough weekend 4 weeks ago in France. So I think it's good to take maximum points, good for the championship. But yeah, it's anyway, because the race was so short, we couldn't make such a big gap to the rear. So now Marcus is out there trying his best with 65 kilos extra weight we got compared to some others. Yeah, I think it's going to be really tough, but anyway, let's see. I think he will do his best, and maybe we can stay in front, but let's see. It's going to be tight.
Thank you very much, Fabian.
Well, he's doing a very good job indeed. It's one thing, isn't it, catching a driver of the quality of Marcus Paltella. It's quite another finding a way by, but behind this pair, separated over the line by just less than a second, Pieter Schothurst has taken a full 3 seconds out of Raoul Owens. That courtesy of another fastest lap of the race, this time a 2:16.411. And at this pace, Johnny, doesn't count out the fact he could catch the leaders here.
A brief look to his right there from Marcus Paltella. Despite going at unabated speed at the end of the Kemmel Straight, he just peered over to the right-hand door mirror just to check out whereabouts Stijn Schothurst was. You're almost in the situation where he won't want to let Stijn Schothurst through, but if he does, that's not an awful lot of points clawed back by Miguel Ramos. Stijn is new to the championship this year, by the way.
In the background there, 4th car, that is Pieter Schothurst reeling in Raoul Owens. Top 4 cars now back into a single shot as another positional change. That's the 17 car losing out to the 5. That is
Rodrigo Baptista in the sole surviving Oregon team car, overtaking Lonnie Martins, isn't it, in the 17. It's Duquesne Engineering car.
That's a lap down, isn't it?
So
That's
Lonnie is, yeah,
yes.
You're quite right. So Rodrigo Baptista, although looking like he gained a spot, in fact didn't, because they're on different laps 15 completed by Rodrigo and indeed the race leader, Marcus Paltela. And right on cue, here is the Finn, kicking up a large piece of some kind of car component, it looked like there, or maybe it was just a large piece of pickup, but right in the face of Stein Schotthorst. Won't be distracted by that. Stein not scoring points, can't score points because he's come in at round 5, but his teammate Miguel Ramos will score points at the moment for second position, but chucking that car into the chicane at the end of the lap was Stein Schotthorst there. At least 3 wheels up in the air as he turned right. He is really charging on hard here. Again, peering over to the right-hand mirror was Marcus Paltela, just to make sure that Stein wasn't alongside.
Behind this pair there, coming out of La Source, Peter Schotthorst now right on the tail of Raoul Owens. The gap less than a second as they cross the line.
Yeah, so Owens versus Peter Schotthorst for third and fourth. Paltela versus Stein Schotthorst first and second.
Fourth place man, a much better run up La Source, up Rouge rather, and I think may well get the opportunity here to have a look into Les Combes for third position.
There was a
takes the outside.
Look from Stein Schotthorst for the lead, and round the outside for
Cleanly
third position goes
done.
then Peter Schotthorst. So the Schotthorst, both of them on the attack here. Stein thought about it, but then decided discretion was the better part of valour. Meanwhile, just a few seconds later, Peter Schotthorst, as you say, move of the race, quite possibly, round the outside of Raoul Owens. No contact, kept within the track confines as well. Fabulous car control from Peter Schotthorst, and Raoul Owens had no reply to that.
He defended hard but fairly, Raoul Owens, but leaving next to no room. He needed no more than that, and through went the number 21 car. So 9 from 19 and 21 now. Raoul Owens dropping back from Peter Schotthorst almost immediately. The gap we therefore need to be looking at, it's about 5 seconds back, maybe less now, from this battling pair, and of course that's going to help Peter Schotthorst to close that gap. He responded, by the way, with the fastest first sector of the race there, took a second out the leaders again in the second sector. He's going to be with these two before the end of this race.
Satya Terikul and Robert Kubica are right together as well. They've all paired off here. We've got a battle for the lead, a battle for third position, and a battle for fifth and sixth as well. We're not seeing that, but Kubica is almost overlapping Satya Terikul, who is under pressure in the second of the Mark VDS machines. That's the car that was started by Fran Pruder, with a time penalty to be issued at the end of the race, of course. Satya Terikul, once that's taken into account, will be behind Kubica, but you've got to continue to race.
4.2 seconds the gap down to Peter Schotthorst to the leader, and it's about 0.8 of a second less than that to, well, the family affair that is second place now.
1.2 seconds I make it between fifth and sixth place cars, Satya Terikul and Kubica. Kevin Courjus on a charge as well. He's quicker than the two cars ahead of him.
He's less than a second back from Kubica as well.
Jordan Groger is quicker than those as well, but he's got 7 seconds to try and find. Jordan currently 8th.
Now all of a sudden, Stein Schotthorst wants to be by here very quickly because he can see what's coming in the mirrors, and he knows just how good Peter Schotthorst is. Better than anybody, probably reminded every single day over dinner.
And Stein and Peter are cousins, so they know each other very well indeed. Stein is the son of Jeroen, who is Peter's co-driver, of course. So that's how it all slots in together. Peter being Jeroen's nephew. And yes, we're about to have an inter-Schotthorst battle for second and third, with Peter clearly on a charge, although Stein has just set the best Sector 1 time of anybody, and Marcus Paltela a personal best through that sector. So don't misinterpret what we're saying. These two guys at the head of the order are not going slowly, just that Peter is closing at such more a rate of knots. A 2:16.6 for Peter Schotthorst. That's a second and a bit quicker than the two cars up ahead. And what about the battle for fifth and sixth? Well, they're still tightly bunched as well. At one point, 2 seconds still the gap. Kevin Courjus continues to close on both Kubica and Setien Terakul to make it a 5th, 6th and 7th place scrap, which is very tightly bunched.
And that 5th, 6th and 7th place scrap is catching Raoul Owens, who's in 4th. That gap, currently about 6 seconds they've got to find to get onto terms with the car that lost 3rd position just a lap or two ago to a charging Peter Schotthurst. Of course, the leading pair, much as their pace is certainly not slow, slightly constrained because they're in that battle. That's helping Peter Schotthurst to just find the 10th where they can't, because they've got to go, in the case of Marcus Paltala, defensive. In the case of Steen Schotthurst, to try to find the right line to get by, and it's helping this to become a 3-car battle. It's going to be there imminently. It's 2.8 seconds now, the gap 1st to 3rd.
And there they all are in the same shot, and then emerging at the start of the Kemmel Straight, Raoul Owens in the white with the Dayglow red detailing of R.S. GP. Raoul Owens having taken that car over from Fred Blomstedt. It was up there in 2nd position. Well, at the moment, Raoul can't do much more than 4th behind Paltala, who now turns in at Bruxelles. 2nd place, Steen Schotthurst. 3rd place, Peter Schotthurst.
This is where there's a massive advantage here for the people who are here trackside, because they can watch both the big battles unwinding. It's far more difficult for a TV director to do that. We've got this battle, which is absolutely intriguing. Peter Schotthurst seems to have the quickest of these 3 cars, is making up time sector after sector, but not that much further back down the road. Separated now by what, under 2 seconds, is that battle for 5th position, still catching the battle for catching the car for 4th.
6 tenths between Setien Terakul and Kubica, and a further 1.2 back to Kevin Courjus, whose times have started to get a little bit slower, but only marginally, just to match really the pace of Kubica and Setien Terakul up ahead. And that time through, Setien Terakul almost offering a little bit of a response now with the car's best time through the middle sector. Also impressive through sector 1 as well. So Setien Terakul feeling the pressure. Here is that fight then. So look out for the Mark VDS car. That's the grey and red machine of Setien Terakul. Behind is Kubica, and then the second of the RH-GP cars driven by Kevin Courjus.
Which has closed up again. That's way closer this time than it was last time around, so it's a quicker couple of sectors from Kevin Courjus.
Second and third right together, the two. Schotthurst staying ahead of Peter.
Now they won't want to hold each other up here by having their own inter-family battle, because that will allow Marcus Paltala the opportunity to just, you know, choose his line rather than defending from the line that his competitor behind, Steen Schotthurst, he's looking for a way up the inside here. Not available there. But that compromises both of them. Here comes Peter Schotthurst now. Now it's nose to tail. Under a second between the three. 15 minutes to go plus the lap.
And the two cars, second and third, that you can see there, dark blue machines, both run by the team Equipe Vasseur from the Netherlands. And although Steen Schotthurst is the son of Jeroen Schotthurst, Peter's co-driver, I'm sure there will not be team orders here to instruct Steen to allow Peter through. If they can do it on track, then fair enough. Try and keep it clean, boys. But remember, Steen Schotthurst is trying to keep the championship alive for his co-driver, Miguel Ramos, who will be cheering him on from the pit wall. Through pit path they go for the 20th time. 14.5 minutes to go on the clock. And Setien Terakul still in fifth, ahead of Robert Kubica and Kevin Courjus. All three drivers lapping at a very similar pace. And all three drivers slowly catching up with Raoul Owens as well, although there's about 5 seconds between Raoul and Tanart in fifth.
This is allowing Marcus Paltala to edge away. Not under as immediate pressure this time around from the chasing car.
It will be causing a distraction for Steen Schotthurst though, just to have Peter in his mirrors and just driving a little bit more defensively, so more concentrated now on the car behind than the one in front. And as you say, this is Marcus Paltela's opportunity now to extend the lead and disappear a little bit, trying to be as late on the brakes as he can through La Source. Gets to the clipping point perfectly, and down the hill to Eau Rouge for yet another time. Lap 21, Marcus Paltela leading the Endurance Trophy, part of the Renault Sport Trophy this weekend at Spa-Francorchamps. Through Radion go the top three and onto the Kemmel Straight. Raoul Owens remains in 4th position. He'll appear at the start of the Kemmel Straight in a moment. There he is. Now, what's the distance between Raoul and the next car? It's 6 seconds, 5 seconds now. Back to Tanot Satin-Terricourt.
He's done a pretty good job of fending off that challenge. Down under 13 minutes plus the lap now. But they are still catching him. Jordan Grogon, meanwhile, is beginning to make real inroads into that trio ahead. A quick lap from Jordan, a 2:17.1, puts him within 5 seconds of the battle for 5th.
Yeah, that was 7 seconds the last time I checked. So Jordan Groger going about his business quietly, professionally, but may have an opportunity to get into the top 7 by the end of the race, maybe top 6, with 12.5 minutes to go.
As we get to the closing stages of this race, the next factor that comes into play is who's looked after the tyres the better.
Confirmation about the time penalty now to be issued to the number 5 car. It's going to be 15 seconds for...
That's a second penalty.
Is it? Right.
Yeah.
For leaving the track at turn 19.
So that's 20 seconds now for the number 5 car, which will not lose it a position.
Turn 19 being the chicane at the end of the lap.
And the previous one was for leaving the track at turn 3 and turn 19, so it's a repeat offence.
Hence the reason why it's 15 seconds then. And therefore the 5 car of Rodrigo Baptista further penalised. We're keeping our eye on the Satin-Terricourt machine though. He is 0.6 of a second ahead of Robert Kubica, and here is the battle out of the final chicane. Jordan Kroger in the distance as well, arguably quicker than these 3 cars in the foreground. Tanot Satin-Terricourt trying to get his number 15 car stopped as efficiently as he can at the source. That car looks very nervous under brakes though.
But yeah, Grogor the quickest of those 4 and catching. Here again going down
the Kemmel Straight they go then for lap 22 and up to Les Camps.
Not close enough for it to happen there.
So perhaps an opportunity at the slower corners at Pouhon. Into Bruxelles goes the race leader, Marcus Paltela. Stijn Schothorst and Peter Schothorst, 2nd and 3rd.
Robert Kubica now looking for a way by Satin-Terricourt. And up into the 5th position. This will be, if he thinks he's got the quicker car underneath him, will of course be frustrating, because he wants to get onto terms with Raoul Owens, who's still a further 4 seconds up the road. And they can see Raoul Owens there. There's Jordan Grogor in the back of the shot. He's catching this trio.
Yeah, Groger catching the 3 cars up ahead. The 3 cars closing in slowly on Raoul Owens as well. We may have 5 cars altogether for 4th position by the end of the 9 minutes and 50 seconds that remain. What's the gap between Satin-Terricourt and Robert Kubica? Waiting for them to head over the split and for the clock to start counting. It's less than a second, I'm pretty sure. We're not going to get that graphic, in fact.
8 tenths.
It's 8 tenths. Wow. Okay, 8 tenths of a second, and then a further 8 tenths back to Kevin Courjou. So all very equal, side by side for 2nd position, and Peter Schothorst up the inside of Stijn Schothorst. Can Stijn get the fight back out of the chicane? No, he cannot, and that is quick business in the end from Peter Schothorst. Well done. He spotted the door open. They've avoided contact, and Peter Schothorst, you can almost see the concentration in his eyes as they head down towards the source corner. And the glowing brake discs. Well, the man in charge of those 2 cars we can hear from now down in the pit lane with Julien.
France versus terrific battle out front between your two cars. How do you experience it from the garage?
Yeah, the car number 19 has 60 kilos more, so that is a problem to overtake number 1. To go hills up, he loses too much. So now we swap, and we try to get 21 to attack the first car, because he doesn't have the same weight, so the chances are more. So that's actually what we decided to change and try to get the victory in. It will be difficult, of course, but car 21 has a penalty and a little one, but okay, we try to get for the podium, in, of course.
Are you not afraid that Stein might be upset with Peter? Are they between the two cousins? Are you not afraid that there'll be some bad blood between in the family affair between Stein and Peter? Are they in good relationship?
No, we are not Mercedes. We can control that, and I think we have clear appointments what we do, so there will be no Mercedes incident.
Well, thank you very much, Franz. We'll let you watch the end of the race.
I think we all know what Franz is referring to there.
It's not GT3, is it?
No.
Oof,
Some other
moment
kind
there
of
for
racing.
for sure. That's excellent stuff. But
Nice bit of banter.
Little bit of team orders.
Well,
which,
yeah.
well, that's perfectly fair comment.
I suggested that there wouldn't be any team orders, but it's purely from a strategic point of view. They think the 21 car being lighter, not carrying the ballast or as much ballast as that car on the right-hand side, and there is Peter's overtake, as you say. The brakes glowing brightly, just shows how hard he's pushing that pedal to get the car stopped. But it was a good overtake, well shaped up through Blanchimont, well set up through that corner, and finished off into the chicane at the end of the lap. Again, brakes on the front discs certainly glowing red hot, and I'm sure they will be on Marcus Palteler's car as well. So Marcus has soaked up the pressure from Stein Schotthorst. He has to do likewise to Peter Schotthorst now, and Peter trying to keep his championship alive along with Jeroen, his uncle.
7/10 of a second, 6/10 of a second as they cross the line is the gap. It's 6.5 minutes plus the lap to go.
25 for a win, remember, 18 points for second position. So if the car that runs second at the moment can get ahead, that's a significant swing in points.
It's going to seem like a very long 6.5 minutes for Marcus Palteler. It looks to me like Schotter's got the better run through. Radion, he's looked on the inside, feinted the outside, he's gone round the outside.
Wow.
A brilliant move.
Exactly the same move that he pulled on Raoul Owens, and Marcus Palteler, to be fair, kept the wheel straight there. He'd chosen his route into Les Combes, was careful not to weave the car excessively, and yet the Peter Schotthorst sold Marcus Palteler a bit of a dummy there, which is a rare thing. Indication that he was going to go up the inside and then right round the outside later on the brakes than Marcus Palteler. And that car, fair play to Franz for sure as well for setting these cars up just right. You need to have faith in your engineers that the car's going to stop down there.
Now, of course, the next game is, can Stein Schotthorst do the double here? And if he can get the second Versure car ahead of Marcus Palteler, that of course helps the family cause in more ways than one. Meantime, back a little further down the order, Satin Terracle still under pressure from Kubica, but Kubica now under more pressure still from Kevin Gorhoos. There is Jordan Groger in the background. His rate of catching has slowed a little, still closing in on the guys. There's about 3.5 seconds the gap now between Groger and Gorhoos, but Gorhoos has had the hurry-up call. He's now on terms with Robert Kubica. That's given Satin Terracle a little bit of elbow room ahead of that pair. Further time penalty, by the way. It's another car that's not in overall contention. The 17 car gets a 15-second time penalty again for track limits at turn 19 through the final aspect of the bus stop. That is the 10th place and last car lap down. 0.3 of a second between Schotthorst and Palteler now, and Marcus Palteler hasn't given this up. Not in any way at all. There's the battle. There's for fourth. Raoul Owens being closed in on now by these four cars. Satin Terracle, Robert Kubica, Kevin Gorhoos and Jordan Groger. The gap between all five, by the way, with 4 minutes to go, plus the lap, is 8 seconds. The gap between the four is 5.8 seconds. And the gap that really counts, Satin Terracle to Raoul Owens, is just over 4. Doable.
in the remaining 4 minutes and an extra 2 and a bit minutes for that extra lap, which is bolted onto the end of the race. Marcus Paltela now again being caught by Stein Schotters. This is the battle for second position though, remember. Marcus Paltela is running a heavier car than the one up ahead, although they all close up on the brakes at Bruxelles. So Marcus Paltela in this Schotthorst sandwich. Was there an opportunity at the inside of Speaker's Corner? Not quite, but he is close enough here to have a stab at Peter Schotthorst. Peter's set the fastest lap of the race, by the way, a 2:16.411. And
to compromise his line in trying to look up the inside, that gives Stein Schotthorst an opportunity. 9/10 of a second between the top three here. 3 minutes to go.
Phenomenal entertainment this towards the end of the endurance part of the Renault Sport Trophy.
But remember, kids, one-make races, they don't race well.
No, we should remind ourselves of that. Side by side again, not quite at Camper's Corner, and this might be an opportunity for Stein Schotters now with Paltela a little bit on the back foot. He can't really move here, can he? Because he's trying to overtake and defend at the same time. This is fabulous world-class racing from all three drivers, you could argue. And Peter Schotthorst again has got a little bit of a gap here, some breathing space at the head of the order. 2.5 minutes to go. Stein Schotters well off the track. He wouldn't have been able to utilise that, although he's gathered more pace through Blanchimont Corner. But Paltela covers the line off into the chicane.
Epic stuff at the front of the field, and everybody, Miguel Ramos there, welded to the TV screens to watch what's going on here. Is there a chance here into La Source? Up the inside goes Stein Schotters. It's hit. That was a little ambitious, a little more than a little ambitious. And he's taken the place, but was that on?
It might have been on. Marcus Paltela was obviously watching the mirror with interest just to see whether he was able to turn in or not.
I think he's got damage. I think he has got damage.
If you're going to go for a manoeuvre like that, that's a real shame. That is a real shame. And crucial for the championship, we shouldn't forget as well. Remember, Paltela and Fabian Schiller came here as championship leaders. It's at least a puncture, possibly suspension failure as well.
He's going to lose a wall of places here. Past goes Raoul Owens. Here comes the charging battle with Kubica right on the tail of Satin Terrical, looking for the way by. But they're all going to pass Marcus Paltela.
I'm afraid, for me, Stein Schotters wasn't as far enough alongside for this manoeuvre to work. Paltela has to turn in at some point.
He saw that he was there. I don't...
Actually, having seen that again...
He got the car turned.
Yeah.
He was far enough into the corner to have made the corner.
And he sort of blocked past Paltela, didn't he? He deliberately didn't turn in so that to ensure the car was in front of Marcus. And I suppose Marcus has got to turn in at some point, but he was more alongside than I had thought from that first shot. I'm going to leave that in the hands of the stewards if they want to look at that again.
That incident is under investigation.
Unsurprisingly. But Peter Schotters now enjoys a 2.2 second lead, in fact, make that at Sector 2 over Stein Schotters, and Stein's car doesn't seem to be feeling any ill effects, despite being clonked fairly firmly by Marcus Paltela.
Well, short of last lap dramas, and we're 15 seconds away from the end of the allotted time plus the lap. Raoul Owens looks like he's going to get onto the podium here.
The two Schotthorsts, first and second. Raoul Owens, as you say, on course for a podium. Also, cars and drivers to benefit. Tanart Satin Terrical, Robert Kubica, these two cars in shot now. In the distance there is Kevin Courjus, and here comes
that's
the
another
16
hit.
car.
Oh dear.
More contact, slightly more of a brush rather than full-on contact, but from a long way back, Robert Kubica spotting his opportunity. By the way, the leaders are onto their last lap now, and here comes Kevin Courjus as well to maybe overtake Tanart Satin Terrical. Satin Terrical has put up a stout defence for the last few laps. Kubica fully alongside for me. Was he going to make the corner though? It was tricky. He didn't go off the lap. He didn't go off the track.
I have to say, he seemed to come from so far back, but he more or less made that corner.
I think that's all right. Personally, it's not down to me. It was full lock, and it was two wheels over the white line, but he kept two wheels inside the track. And yes, okay, there was a love tap with Satin Terrical, but it's not cost him a puncture or any car damage, and he's retained 5th position from Kevin Courjus, although this is going to be tight to the line, Graham. This is turning into a classic.
Absolutely. Jordan Grogor, meanwhile, has had a sniff of a result here too, and while Courjus just, tried to sell the dummy to Setin Terikul, all that's managed to do is to put Grogor more onto terms with Courjus.
26 laps done. It'll be a 27-lap race then for the latest round of the Renault Sport Trophy Endurance. 2 sprint races to look forward to tomorrow. And here is Marcus Paltela, who has limped that car to the end of the lap. He'll come down pit road, no surprise there, to get a new front right tyre. And presumably they will send it, hope that the car doesn't go a full lap down and get some kind of points. But all of a sudden, Schiller and Paltela's lead, which looked very dominant. Oh, car 19 has been given a time penalty. That's at turn 1 for the contact with Paltela, wasn't it?
That's Stijn Schonhurst. That will drop him down to 8th position, 7th position. That will drop him off the podium to 7th position, which means that Robert Kubica is going to be on the podium at this stage.
Wow. Okay, so that will put Raul Owens in the number 2 RSGP car up to 2nd, and the pole, as you say, with his teammate to 3rd position. Kubica sharing his car with Christophe Amont.
He'll actually put it down to 6th because Jordan Grogor has also got a time penalty, a minor time penalty. Well, he's being told he can't rejoin.
Well, checkered flag is out. Now, checkered flag is shown to Peter Schotthorst after a brilliant drive. Stijn Schotthorst, it was a robust manoeuvre, it's fair to say, but up to 2nd position, and that will be obviously with the time penalty added, that will change things around to Raul Owens to 2nd position. Robert Kubica in, by the looks of things, 3rd place, although we've yet to have full confirmation of that. This is a replay then of the incident that had to be looked back on by race control. Contact between the number 19 car of Stijn Schotthorst and Marcus Paltela in the number 9 Mark VDS car. Soon after that, a puncture for Marcus Paltela, front right corner. And sadly, Fabian Schiller and Paltela having to hang on to as many points as they can, looking like 9th place for them.
Now, what I don't think the number 9 car was allowed back onto track because, of course, it's the end of the race. Now, what is that going to do?
It all depends on whether they have to be across the line or whether they complete over 75% of the race distance. Will they still be classified as a finisher? We may well have confirmation of that in the next few moments. Once the timing screen resets, it takes into account all of the various time penalties that have been issued through the course of that 70-minute race plus a lap. But it's one that we'll have to revisit, I think, because there was so much going on. Bear in mind, of course, we had 20 minutes behind the safety car at the start of that because of a big old shunt out of La Source.
Well, one thing that's absolutely no doubt is that this is the winning car. Peter Schotthorst, what a great second stint there to, well, absolutely slam the gap between the number 21 car and the leading group. Made his way through with a couple of brilliant moves, actually, a couple of fantastic racing moves. Less certainty, I'm afraid, about the 2nd place car, or actually more certainty it will not be the 2nd place car. That car will drop down, we think, to 6th position.
27 laps completed. The gap 3.5 seconds, still by that graphic. Stijn Schotthorst and Miguel Ramos being called as in 2nd place. We expect that to change, though, and promote Raul Owens and Fred Blomstedt to 2nd position. Robert Kubica and Christophe Amont should be on the podium for Duquesne Engineering. Tanart Setin Terikul tried his hardest to keep Kubica behind, and also Kevin Courjus, and yes, that's now been reset with, in fact, Raul Owens as the race winner. Now that confuses me, Graham. 27 laps done by Raul Owens in the number 2 car. I think
I've not seen.
I didn't see a time penalty for the 21. We're talking about Peter Schotthorst and Jeroen Schotthorst. I thought Jeroen kept out of trouble, and Peter, with 2 sublime overtakes at the end of the Camel Straight round the outside at Les Combes, again kept himself out of trouble, I think. But our screen, this is where there's a little bit of doubt in our voices, our screen tells us that Raul Owens won that race and won it by 2.5 seconds from Peter Schotthorst. Alcamel have just reset our timing screen to represent the various timing penalties. But as far as the drivers down there are concerned, Jeroen and Peter look very much like race winners. and I think they're about to be interviewed. Well, no, shrugging of shoulders down there. Peter maybe doesn't look quite as happy as you would expect. So yes, they're a little bit puzzled, just as Graham and I are up here in the commentary box.
Well, we can only call it as we see it. Over the line, Peter and Jeroen Schotters won that race. However, the timing screens now say that it's Fred Blomqvist and Raoul Owens that are actually the winners. That can only mean there's a time penalty either been wrongly applied to that time screen or one that we didn't see registered on the screens. So it's either the 2 or the 21. Either way, Robert Kubica is on the podium.
Quite right. Here is the incident that cost Stijn Schothorst and Miguel Ramos time in the eventual result, because the driver of the number 19 car, Stijn Schothorst, judged to be at fault for that manoeuvre on Marcus Paltela, which eventually caused a penalty on the Finns car. And an instruction now on our screen that all cars should go directly to the grid. That's for the next race. Robert Kubica is there, ready to receive a cap, and there is confirmation on the graphic as well that Raoul Owens and Fred Blomstedt have managed to win that race after 27 laps. They will be the most surprised of us all, no doubt, but you'll appreciate that we've had so much to concentrate on and look around about that. Clearly a message that maybe flashed up on the bottom of our screen about the 21 we've overlooked, Graham. But
well, the odd result here is that despite getting a 25-second penalty, the number 19 car only finishes 16 seconds behind the leader, behind the winner. Because that means it can only be measured from the car that actually crossed the line first.
Yes.
So they've actually finished closer. It's helped them.
That's true.
And they finished 5th.
Right, so it will be Raoul Owens and Frederick Blomstedt shuffled in front of the backdrop there and ready to speak to our man Julian down in the pit lane.
Frederick, Raoul, a lot of confusion below the podium, but it looks like you've actually won the race. How does it feel, Frederick?
It feels great, but you're just a bit confused right now. Everybody's giving penalties, so yeah, it feels great. I haven't really taken it in yet, but it feels great.
Well, tell us about the start. Did you see what happened with the crash and then the safety car? How did you manage from inside the wheel? From the start, did you see what happened at the start, and how did you manage the safety car?
I didn't see it much. I was just focusing on Fabian, and my intention was to take him on the outside, but I couldn't do it, so I just tried to follow him through Eau Rouge, and then it was the safety car, so there wasn't so much to do. And then after the safety car, I just tried to hang on, but he was too quick, so I did my best, but it wasn't enough this time.
Thank you, Frederick. Moving to Raoul, a thrilling second stint. How was it inside the car?
It was tough. The Vachour cars were really, really quick, and to keep them behind was impossible, so I defended a little bit, but I didn't want to lose too much time to the cars behind, so I decided it was easier just to make the pass for them maybe a little easier and just keep my head down in third place when Marcus got the puncture. So I just kept my head down throughout the stint. I was struggling with the front of the car a little bit, but I just kept going and putting in consistent lap times and not letting anyone behind me sort of close the gap too much. To win the race is fantastic for us as the team. I'm over the moon with that.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. We'll let you enjoy the podium.
So congratulations to Frederick Blomstedt and to Raoul Owens. And apologies that we had overlooked another time penalty for the number 21 car. But Peter Schothorst, despite that fabulous drive and 2 great overtakes at Les Combes, will have to settle for second position. This was the carnage at the start of this race, by the way. The 70 minutes did not get off to a good start at all, with 3 heavily damaged race cars after a bold manoeuvre, an audacious manoeuvre from that car, in fact, the blue and white high-class racing Dennis Anderson driven machine, coming from a long way back to try and funnel his way up the inside at La Source. There was further contact between Christophe Amont and Fran Freder later on in the race, and Fran charging his way through from the back of the order. And then as we reached the driver changes, this was just prior to the driver change, I reckon, with the 21 car sliding through there. And then more pit stops happened. Frederick Blomstedt handing his car over to Raoul Owens on course, little did they know it at the time, for a race victory. But Marcus Paltela was able to fend off the R.S GP car at that point, with Raoul Owens rejoining just in second position. Side-by-side action between Peter Schothorst and Stijn Schothorst, with Peter making the move into the bus stop chicane there. And this, a great overtake at the end of the Kemmel Straight for Peter Schothorst. Ran the outside of Marcus Paltela. Paltela keeping it tight through the first bit of Le Comte to get the best exit speed. There was contact between Stijn Schothorst and Marcus Paltela, resulting in Paltela and a puncture and a penalty in the end for Stijn Schothorst, who pulled off that manoeuvre. Robert Kubica, again, contact made with Tanot Setin-Terrecourt, but a cleaner manoeuvre there for fourth position. Eventually, of course, getting Kubica and his co-driver Christophe Amand on the podium. And that was the moment when the leader went across the line. In the end, though, wasn't the winner, of course, because these guys won the race, Fred Blomstedt and Raoul Owens. And good to see there's a handshake between Peter and Jeroen Schothorst, despite the surprise. And here's the national anthem for the winning team.
And Robert Kubica, they're looking a bit like the world's most surprised person to find himself standing up there.
Yeah.
With just a few minutes to go before the end of the race, I think I'd have said the same. But extraordinary end to that race. And that can only be either we missed one or one that was called very late for something like track limits.
That's true. Yes, although we've said that the Peter Schothorst, Jeroen Schothorst car avoided any contact, there's much celebration there for Christophe Amand, together with his co-driver Robert Kubica. But yes, I kind of discounted any contact for the number 21 car, but what we hadn't necessarily put into that was the track limits issue. And I know that certain cars were pushing that hard at turn 19, the exit of the chicane, and also sometimes the exit of Blanchimont as well. So that might not be a bad bet, that, for Peter Schothorst. And I would assume it's come from his stint rather than Jeroen, because I don't remember a message coming on the screen when his uncle was at the wheel. But Fred Blomstedt, a big grin on his face. That's closed up the championship battle very nicely indeed, because Marcus Paltela was called as a classified finisher, by the way, 9th position, but you only get 2 points for that. It's the full 25 for Raoul Owens and Fred Blomstedt for their first victory of the season. Thanks for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed it. From Graham Goodwin and Johnny Palmer, it's goodbye for now.